Hello, my name is James Walker. I'm a Christian apologist, but even though I'm a Christian, I still learn from Atheist Edge.
So here's one intersection, if we're just talking about Islam and Christianity. The persistence of Christianity in the West is a problem for how we really ought to address Islam. We're not going to fix the Muslim problem by dropping a bunch of bombs. We're going to fix the Muslim problem by reaching the young people and saying, your book is man-made. This is a myth. Faith is a silly idea. Come on into modernity. Come on into science. Come on into progress. It's because we're not willing to say.
We're not willing to say that about Christianity.
What's the biggest reason we can't do that?
Christianity.
What is it?
Christianity.
Is it?
Political leaders
really?
in America and in the Western world are disempowered from identifying Islam as a man-made religion because they are disempowered from saying that about their own culture's religion.
Right. Because any evidence you would throw at it, you'd have to look in the mirror.
We cannot treat Islam in an evidence-based way as a global conversation because the political leaders in the Western world, certainly in America, cannot treat Christianity that way.
So think about the way we have this conversation in public. Think about the way we have. Even on the left, the way we have this conversation, we say things like, oh, you know, they have their great traditions and we have our great traditions. Like, I want some reporter sometime to go to some press conference with a Muslim person and say, is there actually any evidence for any of this? You know, I mean, that's the impertinent question that we need to be asking. But no one is willing to ask because they're not willing to turn that on Christianity. Okay, so we've got a third of the world that's doing all these dangerous things and believing these medieval ideas. Shouldn't someone say, is this even true? Right? Is this even true? Is there any evidence for these claims? That's the conversation that the young people have.
That was my whole thing. That was my whole detox. Was I cared about whether the things that I believed were true.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So what objection are you making to their argument?
No. It wasn't an objection to the argument. But what it was that realizing that there was like an enlightenment that Christianity underwent, right? Like Reformation. There was a Reformation that Christianity underwent that has not happened in the Islamic world.
Well, okay, you say that. I mean, there are better and worse versions of Christianity. There are better and worse versions of Islam.
No,
I mean, obviously there's a tiny fraction of Muslims that will strap a bomb to themselves.
Pew might tell you different.
No, I'm saying a tiny fraction that will strap a bomb to themselves. There's a larger number that think that's a good idea. Yeah. There's a larger number that think that's at least an acceptable idea. And then there's maybe half that think it's a terrible idea.
But even the ones that think it's a good idea, that's a problem.
Right, of course.
Like, an extremist Muslim wants to cut your head off, right?
Right.
Like, a moderate Muslim wants to hold your feet. While an extremist Muslim wants to cut your head off.
Okay, but what's the real answer? The real answer is not a world where we can get all the religious people to behave. The real answer is we get rid of these ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Eject everything that's not true. Right? Let's get to somewhere where the things that we believe are true.
Right.
The problem fundamentally is that, and this is in our presentation, we are taught to respect this idea that faith is something that is unassailable. There is this sacrosanct thing called faith.
Faith is
that we can never challenge.
The evidence of last resort.
We should be evidence-based thinkers. For crying out loud, we're the nation that flew people to the moon and back. Right?
Wait, you think that really happened?
That's who.
There we go. Come on.
I'm just kidding. No.
That's who we are. And yet we are taught that we should not apply evidence-based, reasonable thought to this idea of faith. And if we can't do that to the Christian faith, then we can't ask those same questions of people outside our culture, of other faiths. And that's the problem. Because we cannot do that internally within our own culture, we are disempowered from doing that externally.
And when you say you can't, I think we're talking about this very liberal idea of tolerance, right? This idea that, well, I have to tolerate everything. Everybody's ideas are just as good.
Liberal, I'm tolerant.
Instead of saying, wait a second, where's your evidence for that?
Well, and there's a very big distinction made between criticizing ideas and criticizing people.
Absolutely.
And tying those two together of ideas and people is a very dangerous one, because if you are objecting to a religious text, then people will translate that to objecting to a group of people.
Yeah.
Right.
And unfortunately,
Or
that
even a
is-
race of people. I mean, you make
right,
that
and,
as well.
and even if that's not what you're doing, that could become rhetoric that motivates
Tribalism.
Right.
motivates
Right.
hate crimes.
So-
and so that's what's really scary for certain members of the population to be objecting to these things. It's a very legitimate argument and it needs to be made, but at the same time there are consequences to that, and it's really unfortunate that people will take something and think that, well, this must be what all of you guys believe and we're going to discriminate against you based on that, and
What's that mean? All
Especially-
generalizations.
Yeah, generally, and especially with online echo chambers and things, it's really easy to just stay within your own bubble and to not look at people as complete human beings anymore. So that dehumanization is being escalated to a level that's really scary.
Well, this is why we really need a chorus of former Muslims that,
Yes.
from predominantly Muslim countries, from Arab descent. We need those voices saying the same things that you and I might say, because no one's going to accuse them of racism if it's their same communities.
Right.
So this is the claim you hear from the very most liberal Christians, right? The ones that don't believe any of the myth and magic, the ones that wouldn't defend the plan. The last thing they say is that, well, life without Christianity would be meaningless and hopeless.
What would be the point of life if there weren't a God?
We have to do this. And we say, no, a life of reason and free thought can be meaningful and beautiful.
And it's the easiest answer of all.
What's
It
your backup for that?
My backup is live your life, right? You're one of the lucky ones.
In this room and thousands of viewers, people have meaning in their lives every day. The relationships we have with our families, the love we have for our pets,
Art, music,
the beauty
travel,
of nature,
wine,
travel,
sex, and whatever it is you're into.
cigars.
There's your
Cigars.
But you know what? When the Christians say
Beer, scotch, good scotch.
when the Christians say that there's no meaning without this, I think what they mean is there's no external meaning, right? There's no one in the sky forcing meaning on us, and I would agree with them. But that doesn't mean we can't make our own meaning.
Right. My meaning is completely self-defined, and I've said this on the BBC and in conversations. I won't say arguments. In conversations in person with people, I defy anyone to tell me that my relationship with my life isn't sufficient value and meaning for my life. Seriously, that it is absolutely false and wrong to say otherwise.
In fact, you assign more meaning to this life if you believe it's the only one you're going to have.
Right.
There is nothing that follows this. The only shot that we get at this mortal coil is right this minute.
Yeah.
And that means that every moment is precious. And more than that, it means everybody's life is precious. Everybody's life matters. So that is, I don't want to bring politics into this, but it makes this secular human value set more meaningful to recognize, and really is a demonstration of its truth, to recognize that this is the only chance anybody ever is going to have.
Right.
So that your social justice comes from that. Your humanism comes from that.
Well, and if you can give that gift to someone, I mean, Owen and I remind each other all the time. We don't criticize Christianity because we want to mock these people or belittle these people or hurt these people.
Right.
We want to free these people. These are all the Christians we've met have been so nice.
We
These
want
are
them
good
to have
people.
our understanding.
I want to give the gift that I was given. Thomas Paine gave me a gift of opening my mind and asking the right questions.
And you had an epiphany.
Right.
Because
I want to give that gift, and I have.
Neither of you would deny a charge levied against you that you are evangelical, though, right?
No, I own that label. I love that.
Yeah.
I proudly.
Okay.
And you know what? And I think
I am
different.
unashamed of evangelical.
I appreciate that. I'm not that, but I appreciate that there are those out there.
I think there's value in evangelizing.
absolutely. But okay. Okay, so
yeah, he's with you guys.
I'm a Firebrand.
But
I'm not trying to change anyone.
So where you and I might disagree is that the decision to be evangelical, the decision to affirmatively try to change minds and hearts, does not necessarily inform how you go about doing that. There is bad, ineffective evangelism.
Yeah,
I have seen a lot of ineffective evangelism. And if you want to go stand on a street corner and scream at people and put up signs that will offend them and turn them off and make them entrench even further,
I'm more of a Socratic.
that's not necessarily going to work.
Even that method can work
It
from my
can work.
experience.
Absolutely.
It's a longer gestation period for that seed, but it does work.
And so, or it works on different people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're
I think
talking,
those firebrands have a purpose too.
they do.
I think they do.
They do. You know, different.
Your God sucks.
Different voices, and sometimes, you know what? It's not even the person you're shouting at whose mind you're going to change. It's the person standing over there hearing the conversation.
Right.
You know, think about how pop culture is being used now. You can turn on any Netflix comedy special, and there's a big fat 10 minutes in the middle where they're criticizing religion. Think about if you're 16, 17, 18 years old, sitting home watching Netflix. What does religion become? It becomes the team that the cool kids don't want to be on, right? It's the backwards team. It's the discriminatory team. And so, you know, shows like The Big Bang Theory that just always turn the screw, turn the screw, turn the screw. Modern Family, you know, just poke at religion, poke at religion. Humor has a place. Anger has a place. Now, if you do what Owen and I do, and you walk into a church and you start using anger and humor, it's not going to work. There's different voices for different kinds of believers. There's different voices for different settings, different situations. We need all those voices. But I guess my point in all this is if I say to a group of Christians, like we have the Fellowship of Free Thought here in Dallas, and I put out a poll to them. I said, okay, I'm an evangelical atheist. I want to find effective ways to change people's minds. I know that a lot of you are against that exercise altogether. Explain to me why you're against this exercise. And I got a wall of responses.
Hundreds of replies.
And it mostly came down to people who had seen examples of bad evangelism, right? And if they'd seen it done badly, and they interpolate from that this is what it's going to look like. And I say, well, no, read my question. I said effective evangelism, right? If you're doing more harm than good, you're not being effective.
Yeah.
But effective evangelism is different in different settings, of course.
Right.
So,
okay.
One of the points that I make on the BBC Facebook group is...
The British Broadcasting Corporation?
I was going to segue into that. That's the first time we've referenced it, but we're going to clarify because that's the next topic.
No, that's fine. The point that I make on both sides is if you want to persuade someone to your point of view, and this is really true about this conversation, it's true about political or anything else that is a cause that you pursue, you are going to be more effective by not insulting and angering your counterparty. If you have a reasonable dialogue with that person, you are more likely to achieve persuasion. If that's your goal, then your tone, then your manner of approach, then the nature of the conversation itself, these are difficult conversations to have already about something that people hold very dearly. So the way you approach that conversation is very, very important. And so to Rex's point, being effective, that's the thing that really matters.
The one caveat I would add to that is that you have to expand the circle of what you mean when you say your audience. There are many times, either online or in person, where the person I'm directly talking to, I know is not going to change their mind. They're so dug in, their career is based on it. But I'm saying the things knowing that she's listening and not saying a word. That somebody's hearing it or reading it and not saying a word, but I'm planting the seeds there by having this dialogue, by contrasting my logic and reason with their emotional appeal or whatever the contrast is I'm trying to draw.
Exactly. Social media, online forums are exactly the place where that matters most, because if you are a dickhead atheist, all you're doing is turning people off. If you're an entirely reasonable person, even if you never ever make a dent in the cognitive dissonance in the mind of the person with whom you're engaging in a conversation, there are 25 people in the background who never reply, who never post, who never click like. Maybe they watch a video, maybe they're lurking in the background on a Facebook group or following a Twitter feed. But if you can make a dent in that person's cognitive dissonance, then you've been successful, and you may be creating.
And you'll never know.
And you will never know. You will never know. But I have to believe that.
Just like Thomas Paine doesn't know that the question he asked 200 years ago changed my mind.
Sometimes we get great segues. This is a triple great segue.
All right, let's do it.
Because you've referenced, okay, here's the 3 segues that it's going to dovetail right into the next talking point. The BBC, Owen hasn't been talking about the British Broadcasting Corporation. It's the Bible and Beer Consortium. All right, and you also talked about social media, which ties in, and you're talking about the in-your-face, both of you were talking about the in-your-face approach. So now we're going to talk about, there's a Facebook page, and it'll be up right now as I'm talking about it.
Yeah, probably will be.
Yeah, I'll superimpose it, but there's a Facebook page called the Bible and Beer Consortium.
Friends of the Bible and
Beer.
Beer.
There's a second Facebook page called the Friends of, and this is the unofficial version of the consortium, where both sides meet and are supposed to have spirited debates, lively but civil. Of which Owen is the token atheist moderator on the page. So I'm just going to...
Token, you are token.
Well, let me just say this before I turn it over to you two and to talk about this. And we talked about the safe word beforehand, so feel free to use it in case, because some of this might get kind of touchy, but we want you to keep your job there first off. My humble opinion is that you are hamstringed, your hands zip tied behind your back, and I feel that the believers on that page get more slack. And if the same offenses were committed by the non-believers, they get punished more often. And it used to be a good place to go. It used to be a good place to go to have chats with the other side. And I think it's turned completely sour.
So, I understand why you say that. I think it's kind of an unfair criticism. I think that, let me ask you in the theater of your mind, right? Let me pose a hypothetical to you. If atheists got together to create a similar forum for that, right? For apologists to come and so we could have this dialogue, how would we, if we were moderating that, react, and I'm not going to say the names, but how would we react to the common religious people coming on the board and posting things? We would want to moderate that stuff all the time. And yeah, we would, because I want to. And I'm a moderator, right? So we would want to squelch some of that stuff because it would annoy us, right? Again, I'm not going to say any of the names of the but there are probably 20 Christians that are frequent sort of posters, and probably 10 or 15 atheists that are frequent posters, and we're the ones who are scrapping all the time.
Because at the end of the day, the BBC is a Christian organization.
It is a Christian
organization. We are the guests.
We are the visitors
in their home.
Exactly.
And we are free to create atheist groups all over the internet, which obviously we have.
And we could totally do that and invite Christians to come in, and we could be in control
make the rules,
of moderating. The fact, I don't get paid by them. I don't think of it as a job. They asked me if I would consider becoming a moderator, and after talking to a number of the atheists in the community here in DFW, I agreed to do it. I think the fact that they've asked me to at least opine and to participate in the conversations that are happening, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes not, it indicates to me that they are trying to act in good faith. Now, I'll say there are two kinds of reasons why somebody might get muted or banned or something like that. And the first is trolling. Trolling is very much in the eyes of the beholder. I find that a lot of the Christians who are on there troll deliberately, trying to, when I say trolling, you're trying to get under somebody's skin. You're deliberately
provocative.
Deliberately trying to get them to lash out, get them to be angry, get them to be mad. And that's,
but what I'm saying, Owen,
that's
is
bullshit. That shouldn't happen, and it does.
And they look the other way. But when a non-believer does it,
well, they might not even recognize it.
They might not even recognize it because they're not even, they're skimming through.
These are just crazy things that Christians say.
Right, they're skimming through. On the other hand, when an atheist does it, that's the stuff that they're looking for. But
because almost everything we say is blasphemy.
Right,
to them,
everything we say is blasphemy.
How much blasphemy they allow in their own forum is really what we're talking about.
So what I would say is, if any atheist feels like they've been unfairly moderated, reach out to me, send me a message on Facebook, Owen Younger, @OwenYounger, and just tell me, hey, I think this was unfairly moderated. But there are only 15 or 20 of us. Everybody that's on that group knows who I am. They've seen for a year I've been an active participant, and I've only been a moderator for 3 or 4 months. I don't think it's that big. The other reason you might get moderated is if you're using foul language, or if you deliberately attack someone in an ad hom way. That stuff's going to be moderated, and we know not to drop F-bombs on the BBC. We do.
Words apparently have magical properties.
Well, but there is a level of decorum.
But again, you're in someone else's house.
I think of myself as a guest in somebody's house or somebody's church.
Just like you don't allow nudity on your show. I mean,
right.
It's just the way it is.
Okay, so I'll tell you one of
do they not allow nudity?
No,
Facebook. No, YouTube doesn't.
No,
well, let me first say we're the exact opposite. Atheist Edge. We've never deleted, banned, blocked anyone. That's part of who we are. But that's their site. They're free to do that. The 2 times that I've had.
It's happened to you a couple times.
A couple times. Here's the first one. And just now that I got you here, I'm sure. Let's talk about it. The question was, I posed, I feel that terms like evolutionist, not evolutionist, evolutionist, is the way they pronounce it. I think it's on purpose. Neo-Darwinism,
Of course it's on purpose.
Neo-Darwinism, and the new atheists. Anytime you hear any of those three terms by Christians, I feel, and then this is what I posted, I feel that that is a subtle pejorative.
It is.
That's all I said.
I don't
It
even
got
think
removed.
I don't even think it's
I reposted, it got removed again. I asked what's going on, and then I got suspended for 7 days. Talk about that one. Go Pepe.
No, I'm not going to throw in the towel on that. I wasn't the moderator.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have moderated that. I thought that was a perfectly legitimate, fair question. I think it continues to be a legitimate, fair question. And I wasn't, so I fly airplanes for a living, and sometimes I'm sitting in an airplane cockpit, or I'm on the road or something, and I'm not in front of my Google-equipped smartphone.
Yeah.
Right, YouTube. So I wasn't able to interject myself into that. It just happened. I don't remember who the moderator was. We don't typically talk about which moderator.
I know, I'm not saying.
There are only 2 or 3 moderators that ever actually moderate anything.
Todd is Todd.
Just one comment in case one comment in case your viewers don't know. There is so the BBC actually started as live events in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They have about once a month either a lecture or a debate. And if it's a lecture, it's a Christian. If it's a debate, it's a Christian and an atheist typically. And so the online forum that Owen and Jim have been talking about is actually adjunct to these live events.
The second, let me just jump in. The second one, let me just get through it real quick, was at the end of a long dissertation, discussion I was having with the last speaker, the last person that they had on. And it was over, I think he was defending slavery in the Bible, basically.
He was.
Really?
Okay,
yeah,
he was.
he was.
Averroes, right?
So it ended with me.
It wasn't Averroes.
Dr. John Farrer was the presenter.
Yeah, John.
He would probably quibble with defend, but yes, the topic was.
He would. I'm sure he would. It ended with me quoting something from the old. Some of you too young to remember, but the old Kung Fu series. Where we have come full circle, grasshopper, and I even put it in quotes. That got deleted, and I got banned again for 7 days because it was name calling. Because I called Dr. Ferrer a grasshopper.
So the moderators there thought that was disrespectful to
But do we not understand the term "we have come full circle, grasshopper"? He said it was actually talking to his point.
I think that may have been a little bit belittling for the purpose of that discussion board. That you are trying to engage with ideas and be respectful.
My larger point.
But that it's kind of saying gotcha.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's necessary.
Which ties into my largest point. My larger point is they get away with it and we don't.
We don't.
Well, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe let me just accept your premise and say it's still a privilege to get to have that dialogue, right? Because they could just shut the door and keep us out. And so the fact that we have a forum that they're hosting, that they're allowing us to participate in, is better than slamming the door. Now, could we construct a more ecumenical atheist Christian discussion? Maybe, and maybe we should.
Atheist Edge.
Yeah.
Atheist Edge. Walking the edge of what some consider offensive. But your feelings don't matter here. Only facts. Edgy commentary on the dangers of doctrine, the foibles of faith, the bullshit of belief, the stupidity of superstition, and the idiocy of indoctrination. With razor-sharp wit, curiosity, and critical thought, we take an unblinking look at today's religions. We are Atheist Edge.